This is Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Hello and welcome. I'm Ada Masai with Pulse of Africa News, bringing you the latest stories and updates from across the continent. Nigeria and Mali have reaffirmed their commitment to deepening bilateral ties and jointly tackling growing regional security threats. This followed a courtesy visit by Nigeria's Minister of Defense, Mohamed Badru, to Mali's Prime Minister, General Abdoulaye Maïga, on the sidelines of the maiden International Defense and Security Exhibition BAMEX 2025 in Bamako. Badaru, who led Nigeria's delegation to the Continental Security Forum, described Mali's reception as warm and exemplary, noting that both nations share strategic interests that make enhanced defense cooperation vital. Nigeria is committed to strengthening our ties and working closely with Mali to address challenges that threaten peace in our region, Badaru said. The two sides emphasized the importance of collaboration addressing emerging threats across West Africa, with Nigeria reiterating its readiness to partner with Mali on joint strategies to safeguard regional stability. BAMEX 2025, regarded as a key platform for African nations to exchange ideas and innovations in defense and security, continues to draw high-level participation and support from regional and international partners. The Namibia Rethink West Green Cycle Expo wrapped up in Windhoek, highlighting local efforts to turn West into economic and environmental solutions. The two-day event featured art, manufacturing, exhibitions, dialogue sessions, and networking opportunities, emphasizing ways to repurpose discarded materials. Expo founder Toini Kauloma said valuable recyclables buried in landfills represent a hidden economic loss, and the forum aimed to address this issue while inspiring public awareness. Innovators showcased projects like recycling plastics, cans, and old tires into paving bricks, car mats, and athletic surfaces, while student environmental clubs encouraged youth engagement in sustainable practices. The event also sought to bridge the gap between urban communities and nature, promoting environmentally responsible lives.
They shaped history. They inspired generations. They are the notables. Join us as we honor Africa's greatest minds and trailblazers, the notables, celebrating Africa's icons.
Today, we bring you the story of a son of Ghana, a son of Africa whose claimed strengths touched the entire world. His name, Kofi Ata-Annan.
We need to create a world that is equitable, that is stable, and a world where we bear in mind the needs of others.
A man who's believed that peace is not the absence of war, but the presence of justice and dignity.
The focus on individuals and people is the right one, and if we work in partnership and we all do our little bit collectively, we will make a giant contribution.
The notables, celebrating Africa's icons.
Tunisian Foreign Minister Mohamed Ali Nafti has announced that Tunisia, Libya, and Algeria will hold a second joint task force meeting soon to align positions and adopt common measures to curb irregular migration. He also revealed that a new development project is being prepared at the Ras Jdir border, crossing in coordination with COMESA. Speaking during a parliamentary session on the 2026 state budget, Nafti said Tunisia aims to deepen cooperation with Libya by strengthening economic and commercial ties. Responding to questions from Member of Parliaments, Nafti reiterated that Tunisia refuses to become a country of transit, settlement or disembarkation for migrants. He stressed, however, that Tunisia remains committed to human rights, describing migrants as victims of economic hardship and human trafficking networks. The minister added that Tunisia is increasing its contribution to the International Organization for Migration to expand voluntary return programs, noting that more than 19,000 migrants have returned to their home countries up to October. Kelp is essential to oceans, providing a habitat for numerous marine life and keeping the ocean clean by trapping carbon. It's also long been a part of Asian cuisine, but now a chef in Cape Town is turning seaweed into a gastronomic experience. Here in the waters of Cape Town's southern peninsula, chef Phil Mansurg is stocking up supplies, but he hasn't come for fish. Here's here for the vast kelp forest that lies beneath the waves of the coast of South Africa and Namibia. What's cool about kelp is that there's a lot of it that grows on our coastline. It's highly nutritious, it's a great substitute for pasta, and is super versatile, Mansurg says. And it does not taste anything like you think it might. It's quite neutral. According to local experts, the kelp forest of Cape Town is one of the healthiest and most resilient in the world, fertilized by nutrients from the depths of the ocean. And it also makes for a healthy snack, says marine biologist Professor Emeritus John Bolton of the University of Cape Town. Mansurg is leading the way at his off-grid restaurant, the Kelp Shack. From hollowed-out sea bamboo stuffed with rice to kelp pate, a fermented curdite, his aim is to create beautiful, great-tasting dishes that will change people's perception of kelp. Mansurg established the Kelp Shack in 2018, and it operates on word of mouth and online sites like Instagram. A high-level panel at Lagos Fashion Week titled From Cotton to Catwalk, Unlocking Value Addition in Africa's Textile Value Chains brought together industry leaders to explore strategies for transforming Africa's textile and fashion sector. The panel took place amid growing efforts across the continent to revitalize local textile industries, reduce dependence on raw material exports, and compete in the global fashion market. Africa produces millions of tons of cotton annually, yet most is exported unprocessed, limiting economic benefits and job creation. Speakers at the panel emphasized the need for value-added manufacturing, innovation, and integrated supply chains that connect designers, artisans, and industrial players. The discussion highlighted investment opportunities, local production innovations, and the potential for job creation, industrial growth, and Africa's emergence as a global fashion hub. Panelists noted that coordinated efforts between fashion, finance, and manufacturing, the continent could unlock the full economic potential of its textile resources and move from raw cotton exports to finished, globally competitive products. Now to business news. South Africa could secure its first credit rating upgrade in nearly 2 decades on Friday when S&P Global delivers its latest sovereign rating decision amid investor optimism over its reform efforts. Since 2020, South Africa has been rated as sub-investment grade, or quote-unquote junk, by all 3 major rating agencies. Analysts, however, now see grounds for an upgrade by S&P to BB from BB-, citing fiscal consolidation and policy improvements. If realized, the new rating would still be 2 notches below investment grade. An eventual return to investment grade could pave the way for billions of inflows of investor money into Africa's biggest economy. Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan highlighted key metrics supporting an upgrade, including a contained peak in national debt, 3 consecutive years of primary budget surpluses, and the formal adoption of a 3% inflation target. Ghana will abolish the 15% value-added tax on mineral exploration and reconnaissance to encourage new investment in its mining sector, Finance Minister Kasil Atoforson announced during the 2026 budget presentation. The tax, introduced 25 years ago, increased costs for companies undertaking high-risk exploration and discouraged greenfield projects. Industry groups, including the Ghana Chamber of Mines, have long called for its removal to restore Ghana's competitiveness in the region. Forson said eliminating the VAT will boost investor confidence, support sustainable mining practices, and curb unregulated prospecting that has damaged forests in waterways. Moving to sport news. Moroccan athlete Kalthoum Akhlouf won the gold medal on Friday in the women's 45 to 50 kilogram Muay Thai category at the 6th Islamic Solidarity Games currently taking place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Akhlouf earned her title after a strong and deserved victory against Iran's Farzeh Hassanzadeh Mirzadiki, winning 30-27 in the final fight held at the Boulevard Arena this evening. The Moroccan champion dominated all rounds of the match, scoring 10 out of 10 from the judges in each round, while her Iranian opponent received 9 out of 9. With this gold medal, Morocco's total at the Games has now reached 7 medals, including 2 gold, 2 silver, and 3 bronze. The 2025 edition in Riyadh includes dozens of sports and gathers thousands of athletes from across the Muslim world. Africa's top women's rugby teams are heading to Nairobi for the 2025 Rugby Africa Women's Sevens Cup, taking place on 15 to 16 November at the RFUEA grounds on Ngong Road. 12 national teams will compete over 2 days for the continental title, with South Africa entering as defending champions. This marks the first time Kenya has hosted the tournament since 2014, giving local fans a chance to see first-paced matches, emerging talent, and some of Africa's finest rugby stars in action. The teams are divided into 3 pools of 4, with the top sides advancing to knockout rounds for the championship. The Africa Women's Rugby Sevens Cup has grown since its inception in 2004, becoming a key pathway for African teams to global events like the Olympics. Past champions include South Africa, Kenya, and Tunisia, each contributing to the development of the women's rugby across the continent. Next, let's check the current weather forecast. Thank you for joining us on Pulse of African News. Stay tuned for today's Notables program on Kofi and Nan. Goodbye.
They shaped history. They inspired generations. They are the Notables. Join us as we honor Africa's greatest minds and trailblazers, the Notables, celebrating Africa's icons.
Hello Africa, and to all of our viewers around the world. Welcome to Pulse of Africa, where African stories beat at the heart of the global conversation. Today, we bring you the story of a son of Ghana, a son of Africa whose claimed strengths touched the entire world. A man who's believed that peace is not the absence of war, but the presence of justice and dignity. His name, Kofi Ata-Annan. From the golden land of Kumasi to the grand halls of the United Nations. He didn't rule any nation, he didn't command any army, yet his word carried in the power of nations. His presence claims storms, and his vision gives the United Nations a more human face. This is Kofi Annan, the peacemaker from Ghana who changed the United Nations.
Kofi Annan, the peacemaker from Ghana who changed the United Nations. In a world often torn apart by conflict, division, and inequality, there rose a man whose calm voice carried the weight of peace, compassion, and justice. His name, Kofi Annan. From the small West African nation of Ghana, he became one of the most respected leaders in modern history. He wasn't president, nor a general. He didn't command armies or rule nations. But as the 7th Secretary General of the United Nations from 1997 to 2006, he influenced world leaders, redefined diplomacy, and gave the United Nations a more human face. This is the story of Kofi Annan, the first Secretary General to rise from within the ranks of the UN staff, a symbol of quiet strength and moral courage. Kofi Annan was born on April 8, 1938, in Kumasi, Ghana, then known as the Gold Coast under British colonial rule. His name, Kofi, means born on a Friday, a proud tradition in Ghanaian culture. He was born into an educated and noble family. His father was a chief and a cocoa exporter, while his mother came from a family of Fante nobility. Growing up, young Kofi was deeply influenced by the values of fairness, integrity, and service to community. At the prestigious Mfastifisi School, a Methodist boarding school in Cape Coast, Annan learned the motto that would shape his life: service to God and humanity. It was here that he first began to understand the importance of leadership, not through domination, but through understanding, compassion, and dialogue. After high school, Annan's academic brilliance earned him a scholarship to study in the United States. He attended Maxeter College in Minnesota, where he studied economics. Later, he pursued graduate studies at the Graduate Institute of International Studies in Geneva and at MIT Sloan School of Management in the United States. Annan was not just learning about economics or politics, he was preparing to understand the complex systems that govern human societies. He once said, "Education is a human right with immense power to transform. On its foundation rest the cornerstones of freedom, democracy, and sustainable human development." These values would stay with him throughout his career. In 1962, Kofi Annan joined the United Nations as an administrative officer with the World Health Organization in Geneva. For the next 3 decades, he served in various capacities across the UN system in Ethiopia, Egypt, and New York, dealing with peacekeeping, human resource, and administration. He witnessed firsthand the UN strengths and weakness, its noble ideas, and struggles with bureaucracy and political power. Unlike many diplomats, Annan wasn't loud or forceful. His power was in his calm demeanor, his ability to listen, and his quiet determination to find solutions even when hope seemed lost. In 1993, Kofi Annan became the Under-Secretary General for Peacekeeping Operations, one of the UN's most challenging roles. It was a time of great global turmoil. The Rwandan genocide was unfolding, and the world's watching in horror as over 800,000 people were killed in just 100 days. Annan faced deep criticism for the UN's failure to act decisively in Rwanda. Years later, he admitted that it was one of his greatest regrets. But rather than let the tragedy break him, he learned from it. He pushed for reforms that would make the UN more responsive, more compassionate, and more willing to act in the face of injustice. By December 1996, after the end of Boutros Ghali's term, Kofi Annan was appointed the 7th Secretary General of the United Nations, beginning his tenure in January 1997. He became the first Black African and the first UN staff member to rise through the system and reach its highest office. When Kofi Annan took over, the UN was struggling, criticized for insufficiency, corruption, and lack of relevance in a challenging world. Annan sought to rebuild trust and modernize the organization. He introduced management reforms to make the UN more transparent and accountable. But his greatest impact came from his human-centered approach to global diplomacy. He championed human rights, gender equality, and the fight against HIV/AIDS, particularly in Africa, where epidemic was devastating communities. Annan launched the Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria, which became lifeline for millions. He also spearheaded the Millennium Development Goals, 8 ambitious targets to reduce global poverty, improve education, promote gender equality, and ensure environmental sustainability. These goals set for the year 2015 became a historic global framework for progress, shaping international development for an entire generation. Kofi Annan was often described as a diplomat in the truest sense of the word. He believed that lasting peace comes not from force, but from justice, dialogue, and shared humanity. He played a critical role in mediating conflicts in Iraq, Kosovo, East Timor, and Sierra Leone. In 2003, when the United States and its allies invaded Iraq without UN's approval, Annan boldly declared the war illegal under international law. It was a rare moment of defiance, but it showed his commitment to principle over politics. Even under pressure, he remained calm, composed, and consistent. His quiet strengths earned him deep respect worldwide. In 2001, Kofi Annan and the United Nations were jointly awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. The Nobel Committee praised his work for a better organized and more peaceful world. In his acceptance speech, Annan reminded humanity that peace is not just the absence of war, but the presence of justice and opportunity. He said, "We can love what we are without hating what we are not." That message of unity amid diversity became one of his lasting legacies. Like all great leaders, Annan's time in office was not without controversy. The oil for food scandal in Iraq, which involved corruption in a UN humanitarian program, tainted his administration's reputation. Through investigation cleared him of personal wrongdoing, the scandal tested his leadership and resilience. Still, Annan continued his work with dignity and purpose, focusing on reform and renewal within the UN system. He completed his second term in 2006, leaving behind a transformed United Nations and a model of global diplomacy rooted in empathy and ethics. After retiring from the UN, Annan did not fade from the world stage. He founded the Kofi Annan Foundation, promoting good governance, peace, and sustainable development. He also served as UN Arab League envoy in efforts to resolve the conflict in Syria and chaired the Elders, a group of global leaders founded by Nelson Mandela to promote peace and human rights. Even in his later years, his commitment to humanity never wavered. Kofi Annan passed away on August 18, 2018 in Bern, Switzerland at the age of 80. The world mourned. Leaders, citizens, and young people across continents remembered him not for his power, but for his humility, wisdom, and faith in humanity. At his funeral in Ghana, world leaders gathered to pay tribute to a man who proved that integrity and compassion can change the world. Former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said, "Kofi Annan was the United Nations, and the United Nations was Kofi Annan." Kofi Annan's story is not just about a man who led a global institution. It's about what leadership means in the truest sense. He showed that real strength is gentle, that real leadership listens, and that peace begins with respect for human dignity. He once said, "More than ever before in human history, we share a common destiny. We can master it only if we face it together." From Ghana to the halls of the United Nations, Kofi Annan's journey reminds us that no matter where you come from, you can make a difference, with integrity, with courage, and with heart.
Today, his legacy lives in every peace mission, in every young African leader who believed that honesty, compassion, and courage can change the world. From Pulse of Africa Media, we honor Kofi Annan, the peacemaker from Ghana who transformed the United Nations and inspired the world with his vision. Stay tuned with the Pulse of Africa, the heartbeat of the continent, bringing you the stories that inspire, empower, and connect Africa to the world.
They shaped history. They inspired generations. They are the notables. Join us as we honor Africa's greatest minds and trailblazers, the notables, celebrating Africa's icons.